All right, folks, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. Share them far and wide. Sorry for the last minute share. I wasn't even sure I was going to do this. I was thinking maybe we'll just hold off until tomorrow. But what we'll probably wind up doing is talking about what happened today, sneak peeking at the poll, and then I'll process the data while we shoot the shit. Sounds like a plan? Don't forget, I just signed up on TikTok, peoples.pundit on TikTok. It's at peoples_pundit on X and the gram. All the links are in the description. But of course, the best place to follow me is on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com, and it's peoplespundit _, on Getter and on Truth. But again, all of the ones that I care about and want you to follow are in the description. All right, I'm working on the audio now, chapter by chapter. Did the first dry run of the intro, Gabe Guardarini's Forward, and chapter 1, and I did pretty good. I got to tell you, because I'm narrating Burn It Down, which you should go and pre-order right now. My co-author Joshua Lysak and I really got ahead of this one, guys. I mean, this is now the conversation. Not that I didn't know it was going to be the conversation. It's just a matter of, how fast can you get a book done? Publishers have processes. I wish I could have gotten it out earlier, guys. I really do. If you pre-order it now, you will get it by, let me just go and make sure I'm absolutely correct. The title will be released on the 22nd. I believe I get mine on the 21st, which I think maybe some of you may do too. But either way, go out and do that. I wish I had done it earlier for reason number one. First and foremost, I wish I would have did it earlier so we could have had this conversation before it was kind of too late. All right. And I'm not sure it is at that time yet. We'll see how it goes. But you will have to understand the landscape that's before you. And more than just me trying to explain that, and Joshua Lysak, also, he's a great writer. He does a great job. You guys will really like it. We get into a lot of history to show you what it looks like if you fail. All right. I mean, this isn't hypothetical. The United States is not exempt from the laws of nature and nature's God. Quite the contrary. We acknowledge them in our founding documents. And we can already see, unfortunately, the rise of the DSA, which will supplant MAGA if MAGA fails. It's just a fact. There is no third path. There is no third option. The choice is either MAGA, OG MAGA, real MAGA, which will probably have to be rebranded now. We'll see. Or it's Mamdani, MAGA or Mamdani. And of course, we had that written before MAGA decided to take a total tank to represent 5.85% of the population in this poll that we are doing now, which we will get into. It's a big poll. There's a lot of data in it. It really focuses on whether or not Americans want to fight the Iran war, what they have to say about it. Are they willing to pay gas prices? Are they willing to deal with casualties? Do they want to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu and fulfill the arrest warrant that's out? It's a global arrest warrant for Netanyahu, guys. There's only a few countries that refuse to obey that arrest warrant. I mean, even Canada would probably serve that arrest warrant if Netanyahu ever arrived in Canada. So it's a question that other pollsters have asked, but it's also a gauge to see where Americans are. I mean, this is our ally in the fight against Iran, a war they don't want to fight. Spoiler alert, they don't want to fight the Iran war. And given that the peace deal broke through, are they willing to deal? This is now the new neocon talking point, which is, the Iranians, then they don't abide by the agreement, this, that. The fact is, Americans don't care. They just don't care. And you will see it. I mean, it comes down to their needs come before the needs of other nations. They do not view Iran as a threat to them, which is right. They're right. The voters are right. Mark Levin is a liar. Fox News should be ashamed of themselves for allowing him to make the claims that he did on their network on a Sunday when people could have been watching. Thank God. If you look at his ratings, a whole lot of younger people don't watch. But Iran cannot hit Chicago with a nuclear warhead. That is a lie. They can't hit the United States at all with a nuclear warhead. And Americans patently don't care. In fact, a rising number of Americans think it's ludicrous on its face for the United States to tell people who can and cannot defend themselves, which includes engaging in the international system of anarchy with MAD, mutual assured destruction. I get a bomb, you get a bomb, I won't use my bomb if you don't use your bomb, and then we're all good. It's sad because you can't even argue nuclear proliferation anymore, given that Trump just signed a deal that allows the Saudis, or struck a deal that allows the Saudis to obtain a nuclear weapon. So, take your lectures about nuclear proliferation and take them and stick them, where the sun don't shine. Because the fact of the matter is, it looks like more nuclear weapons will be spread across the globe as a result of this conflict than there was before the conflict. And we have spent 2 weeks going over to try to counter the fictional narrative that the Iranians were out there seeking a bomb so they could wipe Israel off the map. That's simply not true. Before the Israelis attacked them in October of 24 and before we attacked them in October of 25, the Iranian people didn't even think that Islam permitted them to develop nuclear weapons. They respected the Ayatollah's fatwa. And now here we are. And for the first time ever, a majority of Iranians want their regime to get a bomb. That's another lie. There was never some uprising that was going to sprout out as a result of Donald Trump keeping his promise to the people. Go look at the numbers. Go look at the other shows. What people? 12% of the population? You're out of your mind. They are more united now than they have ever been, and they're not going to relent. And the population's opinions have hardened. So they have made the regime more hardline. And as it turns out, the regime is the one that is restraining their own population. And of course, the opinions of other countries matter when you're engaged in a war with them, because every regime must maintain regime credibility. If they want to stay in power and not have an uprising that throws them out of power, they must respond to some degree to what their population wants. Now, unfortunately, because the deal that Vice President J.D. Vance struck, the MOU, wasn't good enough for these neocons. He was a miracle worker. It's unbelievable the regime accepted those terms given what their population thinks. It's unbelievable. But now, unfortunately, it will be much, much harder for any of us to get a deal. Okay? All right. So I have to tell Laura to go ahead and text me. Another thing, while I'm processing this, and that's what I figured, we'll go through this because I got to tell you guys, it's sad. It's the end of July. We had to get this poll out a little bit. Had to get in the field and get it out a little bit early. I think we'll be able to get it out tonight. If not, I'll get it out in the morning. I'm not going to have a news cycle pass it up. It's a bombshell poll. But I had to do it because, of course, another reason why I wish I would have had the book written earlier, because we will be headed to Chattanooga. There's going to be another special guest, apparently, who's going to show up, and maybe even another one. This thing is steamrolling out of control. But I'm looking forward to it because I haven't seen him. He's a good friend. I haven't seen him in a while. Oh, well, I've seen him, but we just haven't had a chance to hang out together, and I'm looking forward to it. So, oh no, she doesn't have Apple Pay. I probably need to do this. Unbelievable. This this is the way it is, like real time being a dad and being family. They all forget their cards or their keys or this or that. Like, I'm going to have to start giving them the boot so that they get the real life, like, stuck into their brains. Like, daddy's not going to be able to save you all the time, because this is just ridiculous. I may have to literally sign in and like send money to one of them in a second. So bear with me if I have to do that. So yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what she says. Anyway, Chattanooga is what I'm talking about. Of course, the 1776 Law Center Annual Conference, which is huge. I mean, this is the event the organization uses to raise money so they can pay the legal fees of people who have their constitutional rights being challenged or denied or whatever it may be. We have seen myriad high profile national clients for this organization. So I'm really, I enjoy it, number one, but it's also one of the few things that I actually still get gratification out of. This is not gratifying, which is where I'm going with you now. The reason why I've become such a schmuck in the last year or so, especially since Charlie and I did our best to stop the president from attacking Iran last year, is because I didn't want to have to deal with these interviews. I didn't want to have to listen to Americans say the things that they are saying. Unlike all of the phonies who apparently didn't really believe what they were selling to the American public before November 2024, I do believe that one party was totally out of control and is going to be the end of our system, that we're one Supreme Court decision always away from the end of our way of life. That is the time it is in this country. And I knew we would end up in a kinetic war. So did Charlie. I knew it would be unpopular. I knew, and so did Charlie, that it would harden the views of the Iranian people and it would make getting a deal even like the JCPOA much, much harder. I knew we would end up here. And again, so did Charlie. Unfortunately, he was taken from us shortly after. And all of these phonies and wannabes and beggars and hangers-ons and dying dinosaur neocons latched onto this movement, co-opted it. The president let him. And now we're in the position that we're in, which you will see soon is a dire position. One of the other things that we polled in this poll, because we are oversampling, part of this you won't see. You'll see the drill down number. We are oversampling what are considered to be battleground Senate seats in 2026. It includes some seats that I do not think are competitive, and I am telling you right now, they are not competitive, but they are widely considered to be battleground states because they're Trump states. He won them in 2024. Michigan is one of them. Georgia is another one. Even my own state is about to elect a Democrat pretty comfortably, North Carolina. And it also includes states that others haven't really seen yet. That's not on their radar. And it should have been. They should have been. And it's unfortunate because this was all predictable. It was all avoidable. I tried my damnedest and I failed very clearly. It is now we're going into August. I was talking with Mark Mitchell earlier today, as we do so frequently. And unfortunately, when you do it as long as I have, and you know that it takes time for people to tell themselves election stories. Even in 2016, even though Donald Trump looked like he wasn't doing as well in most of the other polls, and it did tighten at the end, it did. So if you were paying very close attention, you could see that there was momentum for Trump at the end of the election. But the fact of the matter is, in our tracking of the same roughly 10,000 people who agreed to take a tracking poll and reply every week, and actually it ended up being more than that because roughly 35%, I think at most, was repeat interviews in that tracking poll. That poll made very clear, that group of people made it very clear, Donald Trump always had the advantage over Hillary Clinton. He just did in 2026 or 2024. Even after the switcheroo and they popped Joe Biden out of there like he was a pimple, goodbye, and stuck Harris in there to replace him, it didn't change. Trump was always going to win that election. The dynamics didn't change. Voter preference didn't change. And really, that was an easy election to poll. So by now, going in August with gas prices as they were, while the clapping seal idiots were pretending as if Trump could end the war tomorrow and send gas prices below $3 again, ludicrous. Especially now, if given what we're hearing, if he does what we are hearing he's going to do, we're going to blow past our reserve deadline. And gas prices right now are a huge problem for Americans. They're flipping out over them. It's a real problem. Sorry, I'm just watching my little one and making sure he doesn't take the camera out. He loves to crawl under tripods. What can you tell him? What can I tell you? If you had a shirt on, I'd let you say hello. Go get a shirt on. You can come say hello. Later in the show, because I got a lot to cover in a very short amount of time. So how about after? All right. So, all right. While we wait, yes. No, but I see my buddies listening. I said it on a show the other day. Instead of saying El Said, I actually said his name. And he was listening. And later he was like, dude, I'm running for Senate, Michigan. I'm like, oh no, bro, you heard that? Because I just didn't even, I don't know. I guess we were talking earlier or something. By the way, you ready? I'm going to have, hold on. I'm going to have to send her money. I'm going to, oops, wrong one. Tell me how much. Give me how much. Little snots. I am, here we go. Let's do the face thing. Oh yeah, right. You know what? Before I get into that, let me just finish explaining to you the map, the part of the map that I actually did. Ooh, there we go, face. The part of the map that I did include that others, the parties think they can win them, but I think some of them are too far out of reach. And then I think that some people on the Republican side don't understand that these states are competitive and that it was right for us to include them. All right. So that would be Nebraska. I did do some extra in Montana. We'll see. I mean, Montana's in flux because we really don't know what's going to happen yet with the ballot. That's the problem. Will Democrats try to pull in Nebraska and kick the Democrat out of there, and so they can basically support the independent candidate? I don't know. In that state, it's probably going to be too much. But we did it anyway. Whatever. I may not even release it. Nebraska, though, we did do. On the other side of the aisle, like, guys, New Hampshire, for instance, even with Sununu, people aren't understanding what an environment like this does to the map. Okay. In a normal neutral environment, Sununu would have a chance to pick up New Hampshire, barring something catastrophic with the candidate in New Hampshire on the Democratic side. It's not really going to be in the mix. There's some other states. Alaska shouldn't be close. It is. So you'll see. We basically did Alaska, Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas. Ken Paxton has a lead, which is Ken Paxton is shockingly strong. And here's why. I'm going to tell you why. Ken Paxton is shockingly strong given how bad the national political environment is for Republicans. It's still a very close race. It's going to be razor tight. But here's why Paxton has a tiny 2-point lead as of now. Because the biggest problem, one of the biggest, there's two problems Republicans have. One, they're getting, and this should be easy for you to understand, they're getting completely slaughtered among independents. Completely slaughtered. And it's more than just, Rich, maybe those independents are just more liberal. It's more than that. It's a ballooning of people who say that they have equal share. When we ask independents where they align, equally align, and I share little in common with neither. And then you have some of the independents, because this is the double whammy. Some of the independents are now, that were left-leaning, are now just calling themselves Democrats again, which is increasing Democratic self-identification. And yet, even though we can see disenfranchised, disaffected MAGA, which we'll get into in a second, that's the second problem, even though we can see them moving into independence, and we can tell by asking, are you former MAGA or were you previously America First? We can see the number. Republican identification among independents, meaning Republican leaners. There are very few true independents. Even among them, you can lean them into a certain party. Republicans are the last, weakest, lowest category. Actually, I'll look right now. I want to say they're somewhere in the neighborhood. If we look at registered voters, and I'll actually show this to you now, even though I really want to get into the other thing, but just bear with me. I'll show you. Where are you? I don't want to give away too much here until the poll actually goes out. it is 20%. So 1 in 5 independents say that they lean more toward the Republican Party. And is this only registered voters? It includes the phone, right? Yes, I believe it does. Nah, this is a likely screen on it. I'm going to have to, we'll see what the sample overall is, but Democratic Party is number 1. So would you say your views are more closely aligned to the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, equally close to the Republican Party and Democratic Party, or share a little in common with either? Now, once we're done waiting, some of this stuff will change, but I mean, you can infer, you can deduce from the raw, when you have done this as long as I have, which way things are going, and if it's not going a particularly good way for one of those. Among those who are most likely to vote, certain to vote, likely to vote, the Democratic Party is actually number 1. Now, this is interesting because if I take that screener off, share a little in common with either will actually go to number 1 with about a third. Instead, likely independent voters are more Democratic than registered independent voters. And that's a big problem, which leads us to the second thing that Republicans have an issue with. The first thing, of course, is that they're getting clobbered with independents. But the second thing is that Republicans are disaffected, disappointed, demotivated, and they simply don't want to vote. And it's somewhat misleading when you look at, well, what percentage of Republicans are extremely are very likely to vote or certain to vote? What percentage of that compared to Democrats? The problem is so many Republicans are out, they have checked out, they have said they're not voting at all, that it leaves more interested and more higher propensity or more likely votes in the rest of the samples. So when that report from WAPO mirrored the Reuters report, mirrored the Axios report, and it said Republican insiders are afraid that 1 in 5 reliable Republican voters are not going to vote, it's real. And the problem with that is, you can go watch it tonight when Matt Gaetz' show airs later tonight at 9 o'clock. I did an interview with Matt. So did Mark Mitchell, by the way. We double whammed them. There's another group that was always, I mean, if you watch the show, you know, on election night in 2024, I said, do not forget about this group. From now on, you must turn these, because of the realignment, you must turn these voters into high propensity voters, or you'll lose in a midterm in a neutral environment. It's the math. That's how Democrats were able to buck the national mood and the historic trend, the historic norm, modern historic norm, in 2022. Because they took advantage and understood the realignment better. If you add those voters, I talked to Owen Schroyer about him yesterday on Schroyer's show, you're looking at like a third. It's bad, which makes sense considering in November of 2024, 40% said that they were Republicans compared to what, 34, 36 that said they were Democrats. It is now 40% Democrat and about 30% Republican. So they did lose about a third in identification. In the likely, it's going to bring Republicans up some, but in the registered voter sample, the generic ballot is uglier than anything I have ever seen in my entire polling career. The Senate that I was just telling you about, we can do the national generic Senate ballot as well. But the point of oversampling these other states was that we could show you, even do some, post stratification. You will see how some of these states should not be close, and they are. Ashley Hinson is dead even. Sherrod Brown is ahead. Michael Whatley is getting stomped. Mike Collins is getting stomped. Alaska is close. Ken Paxton is outperforming because you can see it clear as day. In Texas, you have more people saying, yes, I'm still pissed and all that, but I like Ken, so I'm coming out. Ken is getting that group. And now his challenge will be not to lose squishy kind of rhino corn Republicans, not to lose them, while also benefiting from these other Republicans coming out to vote. And you know what? We shouldn't be surprised at that, because the first round voting wasn't great. Comparable Democrats obviously showed them up that night. But in the second round, the runoff, that was historic. That was a lot of vote. And Paxton, there was a lot of blowback, I guess is a way to put it, to Cornyn's campaign. The decisions that he chose to make during that campaign, there was blowback. All right. But before we do, a good way to go about this and to get into some of this other stuff is to get into whatever else happened today, which of course was Anthony Fauci. Sometimes, and I'm being real with you guys here, all right? Normally I'm an arrogant prick, and I have every right to be. But normally I'm an arrogant prick, and I'm over here laughing and making snide comments saying I told you so and everything. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes I really can't stand what I do. It's just true. Sometimes I really can't stand it because I know that I'm right. I know I'm going to be right. And there's a lot of very stupid people who are very loud, and it leads to sycophancy. It leads to groupthink, and it leads to making the wrong decision and the disastrous outcome that I'm trying to warn people about. And COVID was one of those. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember the AP calling. I remember Bloomberg calling. I remember all these news outlets calling, because I'm a pollster over here and I'm saying, while everyone else is talking about how Donald Trump's approval rating is getting to the moon, is shooting to the moon because he's, listening to Fauci and Deborah Birx, and he's shutting down the government. And look at, he's 50% in the WAPO poll for the first time ever. Look, Quinnipiac says they approve of the lockdowns. And I'm trying to explain to these idiots like Will Chamberlain and others that this will not be the case in a month. If you're like, maybe 3 months, you're lucky. In a month, I guarantee you, the tide will have dramatically turned, and this will not have been popular, and Donald Trump will get blamed for it. Then, on top of that, they will use this novel virus and this novel lockdown to rapidly and grossly expand mail-in voting, especially not unsolicited mail-in voting. And they will do what they did in 24, which is rob you of a second term. I did not like being right to that. And yet all these so-called voices on the right push back against it. Sometimes being right really sucks. And it really sucks when you don't want to be. You would much rather people be able to say later, oh, look, the People's Pundit was finally wrong. If it means saving the country from these fanatics who are going to take over if Republicans lose. Let me show you something. This is likely voters, likely Democratic voters. Wait, there it is. Likely. These are the people most likely to come out and vote Democratic, or call themselves Democrats. Not likely to vote Democratic. A lot of others will too, but almost 60% now alone call themselves Democratic Socialists. And another 7% call themselves socialists. We're scratching at a super majority of the Democratic Party that identifies with socialism. These are crazy fanatics, and unfortunately, they're going to serve up on a silver platter to those disappointed by MAGA's failures a brand of populism, and people are going to buy it. It just started to dawn on everybody now. Oh my God, the left-wing nutcase anti-APAC person is ahead in the governor's race in Wisconsin. Oh my God, El Sayed is really going to win this primary, isn't he? And oh my God, he could win the general election. Well, of course he can. Last year, Jay Jones, who fantasized over killing his opponent's wife and kids, was elected fairly comfortable over Jason Mayaras, who was a decent guy. A middle of the road. He certainly wasn't a MAGA bomb thrower. And yet the people of Virginia, despite him doing a good job in every other capacity in elected office, threw him out because he wasn't a Democrat. That's it. Sorry, dealing with that. So this is a big part of why I've been such a prick, because I know this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. I knew I was right. I knew this was going to happen. Wait till you see the numbers and you will understand why I have been the way I have been. All right? Great. Anyway, there's something else that happened today. Let's lighten the mood before we stare at the darkness. Okay? It's really not, honestly, it's not a separate thing, because it does dovetail into why Republicans are in this dire situation. Lack of accountability has been a major cause of disaffection, starting with the Epstein files and how that was mishandled, which absolutely cost Republicans a whole lot of elected offices in 2025, including personal friends of mine who have served in office for a decade or more, who have dealt with blue waves before in their careers, swept out of office over how Donald Trump handled the Epstein crisis amid the longest shutdown by the U.S. Congress, the so-called Republican majority in the U.S. Congress in history. Now, you may be a right-wing voter and you may want to blame Democrats, but guess what? Nobody blames the minority party. It never was successful when Democrats tried to do it to the minority Republican coalition that shut down the government over Obamacare or whatever else it may be. It doesn't work. They blame the governing coalition. This Republican Congress is a historic do-nothing Congress. Do you understand that? They have, compared to other Congresses, they are historic do-nothing losers. The only records they're breaking is foreign aid. While their own citizens are starving, can't put gas in their car, and can't pay their rent or their mortgage or send their kids to college or even get back to school clothes, these pieces of shit are sending billions upon billions of dollars to every crooked oligarch like Zelensky and his pals, and to the most, I think it's fair to call it, the most hated nation in the world right now. You may not like that either. Tough shit. Israel is the most hated nation in the world right now. We have a slim majority, but a majority who think that Donald Trump should not only not be allies with Netanyahu, he should arrest him because he was coming. That's why we thought this was a legitimate poll to do. Hold on one second. Let me answer this. I'm on the show, honey. What did you do? Hold on, guys. Yeah, it is bad news, but I got to get through the show and just deal with it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay. Hold on one second. Hold on, I got to deal with this. All right. So anyway, let's just... I can't believe he's getting hit with this crap over and over and over again. It's truly unbelievable. It's really remarkable. Locals, what she just told me. All right. But in any event, let's move on. Let's press on. A big part of why Republicans are down is because of the accountability. They've done nothing. They've had by the time it was 6 months into Joe Biden's administration, he had more political prisoners in jail in prison than Vladimir Putin had in Russia. Maybe they went too far and they sicked the government on Donald Trump and his supporters, and it backfired on them. But there's something different about political lawfare and weaponization. There's something different about that than holding people accountable who have committed crimes against the people in the country. There are people who were so eager, even though they didn't even particularly like Donald Trump, they were so eager to vote for him because they saw what Democrats had done to them, from Russia collusion to the COVID hoax itself, to the installment of a senile president who they lied to the country about being senile, all of that. And they elected Donald Trump, and Republicans underperformed him badly, but nonetheless, they still elected a Republican majority to do something about it, to make them pay. And Republicans have done nothing. And Donald Trump himself is at fault for this, because the very person we're going to talk about now, he is not pursuing. He has made a decision not to pursue this man for his crimes, which are egregious crimes. At the very least, he lied to Congress, right? At the very least, he destroyed evidence. I mean, there is a documented paper trail of him and his assistant talking about destroying evidence. He lied to Rand Paul about gain-of-function research, which then, in turn, it appears, I'm not going to go down the path and talk about the specific company, but it would appear that it led to, at least in part, the creation of a virus, which was then used and unleashed on the world, which seemingly targeted Trump's voters in a certain demographic. But even if that was coincidental, an accident, it led to Donald Trump being deposed and removed from office. And oh, by the way, hundreds and thousands of people dying. And yet Donald Trump decided today he will do nothing about it. In fact, he posted that Operation Warp Speed was a great success. All right. I love these guys. This is why I am very, very, very proud to be an Italian American. Despite what you have to say about it, Mark Levin, no, Italians are not born with Jew hatred in their DNA. This is what it means to be Italian. The Italian-American Civil Rights League tweeted, the Italian-American Civil Rights League rejects Anthony Fauci and hereby deems him a disgrace to our people. This vile man forgot everything it means to be an Italian-American and now represents everything our heritage stands against. He deserves a long prison sentence. Mayor Giuliani, you sent a bunch of us to prison. For what? Keeping your neighborhoods clean of drugs? Keeping our neighborhoods clean and free from drugs and gang violence and gang activity? This guy killed way more people than John Gotti. What's going to happen to him? I love the Italian American League. Love them. Good for them. I'm going to play some clips from this. There's one that's kind of long. Maybe I'll play it as we're going, as I'm digging through the survey stuff here. I've got to export the data set, clean them out, quarantine some bad data, go through. And then that's part of the issue. I don't want to say too much, but part of the issue with what I do is that I don't just rely on quarantine tools. Some stuff you won't ever have to quarantine. All right. And I'll say this. Phone, if done correctly, phone interviews really should not have to be quarantined. It means your screener sucks if you have to quarantine them later. But online, like YouGov, a lot of these other panels, they're trash. They're filled with trash. And it's part of the reasons why they've done not only their own issues and, probably still ethical problems that lead to methodological problems, or at least biases that lead to methodological problems or artifacts within the polls themselves that are a result of their own flawed inability to keep their views out of their collection. But the issue with panels is like a systemic issue. And A lot of these people don't want to pay extra to do what's called deduping or data append to the voter file to make sure that they're talking to real people. Even if you do that, panels, it's just the way they are. Some of these marketplaces are higher quality and some of them are shite. And even if you do it, you can't solely rely on just that to make sure it's quality data. All right. So that's all I'm going to say. So it does take some time to go through it. Like right now, I think it says there's 158 that are quarantined. It's more than that. Given how big this sample is, I guarantee you, I could go through the data set myself and see that there are people who just they just put garbage, they put trash, they just want to get through it. And that's a big part, a big part of why some people argue that you shouldn't compensate like YouGov. They earn points to do surveys and then they get gift cards to like Kohl's or something. And, I mean, there are people who are just clicking surveys so they could do that and get points, but they have no intention of voting. And maybe they have some vote history, but it can be misleading. There are things, and I'm not going to give them away, but things that you can do to make sure that data is a solid quality data response. All right. Anyway, let's play some of this as we go while I look at that. All right. Here is, I know I took like a quick thing from Bernie. Let's do his whole thing. I don't know if I have this in this other clip, but let's start with him. And let's start with Josh Hawley because he jumps out of the gate and tries to trip Fauci up. Let's go with
what I can't quite figure out is that why you were so obsessed with it, because you're already rich. I mean, and your scheme worked here. I mean, your net worth now is north of $12 million. You got over $1 million in cash awards during COVID, during a 12-month, 24-month span during COVID. $1 million you knocked down in cash money using federal resources. Now you're worth more than $12 million. You've got a pension that in its first year paid out north of $400,000 a year. 1 million people dead, you're getting rich. 1 million people dead, you're using federal employees to get cash awards for you. 1 million people dead, and you're here taking the fifth because you don't want to admit that what really happened in all that time was a multi-month, multi-year course of self-dealing.
Okay, let me just stop Josh Hawley there for a second. And let me just say, this man enriched himself and committed these crimes, which are basically crimes against humanity, and killed people while he was a so-called public servant. I don't know that he should be allowed to take the fifth. I understand the point behind the Fifth Amendment. I get it. I really do. It just seems unjust to me to allow him to do it. All right. So let me put up what Barnes said real quick before I put Josh Hawley back on the screen. Okay. Maybe this is our way to get around that injustice. All right. But Barnes, I mean, of course, we know that Fauci has a pardon and he got it through the auto pen. This is what's so disappointing about this. And let me just throw this out there right now. This is the problem with the charades and like the show trials, the shows that they put on with Dr. Fauci and, with everybody else. It's the same thing with the election fraud, which I told you guys about. We monitored it that night. We watched it. We analyzed it. We told you it will backfire if you do nothing. It will just remind people that you don't fight for them, that you don't hold even the worst of criminals accountable. Not helping them. Not only are you not addressing their needs and you're addressing the needs of foreign nations over theirs, but you're not holding accountable people who hurt them so badly. There are vaccine damaged people in this country. I was watching Tucker before I was preparing for the show. He had somebody on. She was obviously a doctor who took a lot of crap. And she's a good follow on X, by the way. But it's more than that. You were subjected to pseudoscience that had no basis in reality, no basis in science, no basis in fact. In fact, quite the opposite. When it came to school closures, it was one of the worst fights that it's bad. Okay. Okay, so I don't know what else to say to that. Like, you couldn't bury your loved ones. How you lost, at least. I mean, there's different estimates out there, but social development, skill development that your children lost from school. How many didn't get their senior year in track or football or even prom? But some of these other activities were key to them getting scholarships, which they couldn't afford college on their own without. The damage is unbelievably difficult to calculate in its totality. Like, the lockdown damage is almost immeasurable. Deaths of despair, immeasurable. Addiction rising, obesity rising, even though very clearly COVID should have been a conversation about getting ourselves more healthy so we don't have to worry about obesity as a comorbidity or a pre-existing condition that puts us at risk of COVID. Nursing homes. Never mind the entire concept of locking everybody down and then only allowing them to go to the grocery store where we can all meet and touch everyone's melons and spread germs. In fact, Anthony Fauci flip-flopped like crazy on what was and what wasn't science, flip-flopped like crazy on what was and what wasn't safe, and ended up at every turn pointing us in a direction that put us more at risk. He didn't give, I'll never forget it, inconvenient economically. It may be inconvenient economically. Like, nobody is in a worse financial position than Anthony Fauci is. And look at how he enriched himself while you couldn't even go to work, while you maybe lost your business. I know people who lost their businesses because they were forced to shut down. I'm sure you do too. Kennedy can't do anything. And I'll tell you why. Because it's either he gets fired for taking on the jab and Fauci because Trump is still in love with it, even though he's been told over and over and over again, or he risks his autism crusade by getting fired, or he risks something else by getting fired. This is another major disappointment with this administration. I know Maha people. I know people at the center of Maha, and they have been trying to hold on and look at the bright side of everything, even though they've had one betrayal and failure after another. This is probably going to take the cake. And I can't tell you, I'm not the only one. I'm the first one, but I'm not the only pollster that has told Republicans in the administration that Maha may be your way out of this disaster in November. Not if you're going to do this. Let's finish watching Hawley.
Isn't that true, Dr. Fauci?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Yeah, well, silence is admission. And here's the real thing. At the end of the day, it wasn't just about the money, really, was it? It was really about a power trip. I mean, through all of this, you want to be the most famous scientist in the world. You were so focused on getting every award and every drop of cash that you could, all because you wanted to be on TV. You wanted to be the sun god of science. You wanted to be the guy who was in charge of it all. You wanted to lambast Trump. You wanted to make sure that nobody else stole your spotlight. You wanted to be the guy. You had time to sit for InStyle magazine. Here's what you were doing with your time. You could sit for InStyle magazine, but you can't answer questions for the American people. You could sit for InStyle magazine, but you're here taking the fifth. You could sit for InStyle magazine and get $1 million in cash awards, but now the cat's got your tongue. I bet he does. I tell you what, here's my conclusion from all of this. This was really all about you the whole time. Somewhere along the way, you lost your way. You may have been a good public servant at one time. I don't know. But I can tell you from reading your emails now, from looking at what you did, how you used your employees, somewhere along the line, it became all about you. You became a narcissist and a megalomaniac and a liar. And you've lied to the American people, and you've lied to this body. And you've disgraced your profession by doing it. You called yourself the most famous scientist in the world. You've done more to harm science than anybody in my lifetime. And I hope you'll go home and write that in your diary.
Oh,
You know what, I can't quite
that
think-
was good. Oh,
Deal.
sorry. I just was trying to speed to another. I gotta pull it and pull. It's actually right. I'll sit there. There's the one point where he tries to trip him up, and I was actually played them in reverse, but it doesn't matter. I hope you go home and write that in your diary. He says, it's good. It's great. It's performative. It's horrible to listen to that, but I'm telling you, this isn't going to hurt Democrats, even though Democrats are the ones for the most part, except for my man. I got to give him a shout out, Dan. If you guys don't follow Dan Turrentine on X, you should. He's a reasonable Democrat. He's a good dude. He is often on two-way with Mark Halperin. He thinks Fauci needs to burn. You know, like this guy has to burn. And for the most part, Democrats are defending Dr. Fauci. But guys, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. They're going to look to the president to hold this man accountable. And Donald Trump is doing nothing. And this is very disappointing to people who argued during the primary because it was true. I don't regret it. It was true. You know, this whole thing, the DeSantites, remember that? The DeSantis supporters at the time were trying to say that, you know, it was the lockdowns. I don't support it because of the lockdowns. Trump was better on DeSantis than the lockdowns. It's just a fact. I lived in fucking Florida at the time. You're not going to tell me. He was better. Yes, he listened to Deborah Birx and Mike Pence and Anthony Fauci. I told him when they brought that Imperial College study into that office that it was a fear tactic, and Imperial College is not a legitimate study. They have done this in the past. Their models are never right. They are notorious for doing this to people and public health officials all over the world. And he didn't listen, and that's fine. But immediately after 2 weeks to slow the spread turned into 30 days to slow the spread, Donald Trump smelled bullshit. DeSantis was still throwing spring breakers out of Big Ben and out of Panama City and out of the Panhandle well after Donald Trump was saying, and I quote, "The cure cannot be worse than the virus," meaning the economy, the economic damage we cannot allow to be worse than the virus. And he even stuck up for people's right to observe their faith. They took Easter from us. Anthony Fauci calls himself an Italian American. He took Easter from us. How many people couldn't bury their loved ones? He could take the Fifth Amendment all he wants. I frankly think we should just tar and feather Anthony Fauci. I think our founders would tar and feather Anthony Fauci. And these are men who defended the principles of natural law, British common law, and the Protestant ethic. And I think there are some crimes that are so offensive to God and humanity that they deserve more than punishment. They deserve public humiliation. This man should be given over to the masses. Because I'll tell you what's going to happen to him right now. Nothing. With what Donald Trump is doing. Nothing. And unfortunately, I think we know what many people with Pfizer connections. Can we just call it how it is? It's the entire reason why Pam Bondi's Justice Department was shit. There are too many people around Donald Trump connected to Pfizer, to Moderna, a company that hates his guts. I read executive communications myself from Pfizer because I have a friend who is one. I read communications between their communications lady and Anthony Fauci. When Donald Trump came out and said before the election, I know we can get back to normal. early next year, if not by December, by Christmas. I know we can. Shortly after the election, there's going to be a vaccine, and they colluded to lie together to the public about it. Guess when the vaccine came out? They hated Donald Trump. They did it on purpose. Fauci is the embodiment of the problem with the Democratic Party. It is a global CCP intertwined network. And Anthony Fauci was perfectly happy working with the Chinese to damage our government. Here's Bernie Moreno before I play Bernie's 5-minute clip.
6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people. I will make it my mission to make certain that every single one of those Democrats who did that will see that clip over and over and over again. Because there is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. It was about...
All right. Nah, I keep doing that. Look, I love Bernie. He knows that. He's a good guy. I like Bernie. I do. And I think he did great there. But I think he knows the limits here. This has got to come from the administration. Yes, Senate Republicans can do something. Sure, they can all refer it. Who's in charge of the Justice Department? How many times has Rand Paul referred Anthony Fauci to the Justice Department for prosecution? But Rich, he's got a pardon. Right. Who can get rid of that pardon right now because it was done by the auto pen? So all of that bloviating about investigating the auto pen scandal, that was just bullshit. This is why nobody wants to vote for you. This is why you're currently getting creamed double digits on the generic ballot. Yeah, this generic ballot is going to be double digits. You know what? Fuck this. You want to see what it looks like before I even weight it? I'll show you guys. As a representative, you guys damn well know by now that weighting is not going to change a margin this big. Okay? It's not going to stay this big. The weighting will help Republicans. It's not going to help them this much. You damn well know by now, if you've been watching this show, you know by now that nothing is going to change a deficit like that. It might get to Democrat plus 11. It may be. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up Democrat plus 12 or 13 anyway. It's got to be weighted for race a little bit, tinkered around the edges. I'm not going to explain and give away nested variables that we weight. That will certainly help Republicans a little bit. The fact is, too many of them don't want to vote. It's leaving the electorate more Democratic and the independent vote toxic to Republicans. There's not a pollster out right now that should be finding an R plus anything. And I've gone over some of them. Soon I'm going to start name dropping you. Even the so-called right-wing pollsters who have done your best to pretend like Republicans have stayed in the game this entire time. They have not. Michigan is not going to be R4. Donald Trump didn't even have an R4. The national electorate isn't going to be R anything. When 20% of them don't want to vote, when 20% of the reliable vote doesn't want to vote, when the realignment has left them in a situation that Democrats used to be in 15 years ago. It's older, it's whiter, it's more educated. Well, guess what? That doesn't help Republicans anymore. That helps Democrats. You have 1 in 5 reliable right-wing voters who don't want to vote, and then you couple that with the people you needed to turn into reliable voters. You have one of your 3 legs of your stool completely chopped out. Let's see what the Senate look. Well, surely they're making it up in the leaners, guys. Surely they're making it up in the leaners. Nope. Leaners are going Democratic by 10 points. Even when oh no, they're tied now. Oh, that's right. On the generic ballot, they're actually, oh my God, they caught up a little bit. Shocker. But it will do nothing. It means they'll gain nothing from the leaners. All that will happen from waiting is a lot of this is trash. This will come out. That'll be it. So maybe it raises each of their leaner share closer to like 45. And then this falls to like 10. That's all. Because most of the stuff that won't pass, quality checks, data quality checks, will get screened out through vote history checks. That's going to come out of here. Yes, both parties will lose some, but they sure as hell are not making that deficit up by tying with leaners. Democrats are almost to 50%. They will cross 50% with leaners. Let's look at the Senate. Let's look at it nationally. I won't even drill down by state. Look at that. It's even worse. They are above 50 already. And Republicans are actually, 1 point less? No, they're a little bit. Senate is a little higher. They're 2 points higher, but it doesn't matter because Democrats are also 2 points higher. So roughly the same margin, only Democrats are above 50. Surely they're making it up in the nope, not enough. This is a bloodbath. A bloodbath. It's an absolute disaster. You know what? Let me scroll this down. Here we go. Here is the ranked choice, ranked distribution for most important voting issues. Let me put it back up. Add to the stage. I got to just do it that way. This is what likely voters are prioritizing right now. And this is not a tight likely voter screen. We will do that and we will throw out a lot of this junk. Like I said, it's just the way it goes. You guys know this by now. I'm saying this over and over again for maybe new people watching and for dishonest actors who unfortunately are everywhere. Cost of living inflation with a score of almost 25,000. Even significantly ahead of economy and jobs with a score of almost 23,000. Healthcare is number 3, a little over 20,000. Crime and safety is number 4, a little over 18,000. Immigration and border security, number 5, not even close to 17,000. Corruption and accountability is closer to immigration border security, the one issue that you may actually be tempted to say is a pro-Republican issue. Corruption and accountability, which is grossly against Republicans right now, is closer to being in 5th place than 5th place where immigration is anywhere near being top 3. All the way down at number 7 is foreign policy and national security. All the way down at number 7, less than a score of less than 16,000. And that is all Donald Trump and Republicans have focused on. While Americans can't pay their bills, they're sending billions of dollars to Bibi Netanyahu, who everybody hates, who 52% of the American public wants in handcuffs. Sending money to Zelensky, where he currently has an approval rating of like 30%. This is embarrassing. They should be ashamed of themselves. Republicans from top to bottom should be ashamed of themselves. Now, obviously, with branching and logic, what's ranking in the top 7 is automatically what is asked when we ask people, which party do you trust more? We are not asking people stuff they don't give a shit about, like abortion and an abortion restriction. It has been at the bottom of the barrel at number 12 for months and months and months, maybe a year. I'd have to go back and look. It's been a long time. Nobody cares. Gun rights, gun control, nobody cares. Look where election integrity and reforms are at, where Trump held a primetime address to tell the nation China stole the election and will do nothing about it. The guy who was part of that, obviously, just went before Congress and we just watched clips of him. And nothing's going to happen to him either. Look at where it is. Rank 10. So even if it was an issue someone gave a shit about right now, it wouldn't matter, because all you're doing is reminding them that you haven't done a damn thing to hold anybody accountable. The environment and climate change ranks higher than election integrity at this minute. But let's look at where people trust, which party people trust on those top 7 issues, shall we? And they're amazingly in order, of course. Cost of living inflation. Democrats 49, Republicans 35. 12% neither, 4% unsure. Economy and jobs. Democrats 49, Republicans 36.5, 37. Neither 10, unsure 4. Healthcare, Obamacare. Democrats 53, Republicans 30. Neither 12, unsure 4. Crime and safety, once a strong area for Trump. 44 Democrats, 39 Republicans, 12 neither, 6 unsure. Immigration and border security is D+2. Maybe with the weighting, it'll be tied at like 42%. But right now, it's 43 Democrats, 41 Republicans, 11 neither, 5 unsure. Why is this happening? Because so many people do care about this issue that are right-leaning voters aren't happy. They abandoned it. They abandoned mass deportations. They abandoned Minnesota. They abandoned Springfield, Ohio, where Trump allowed temporary protective status to be extended, even though a supermajority of Springfield, Ohio doesn't support it. By the way, we did the research for Joshua Lysick's book on the Haitian migrant TBS status nonsense bullshit that's going on in Ohio, wrecking the community of Springfield and wrecking Clark County in Ohio. We did the research for it, and it is going to be published sooner rather than later. Corruption and accountability, getting back to where we were before. Democrats plus 13, 45-32. 18 are almost 1 in 20 voters, likely voters, say neither. They trust neither party, which is not surprising, honestly. 6% unsure. Foreign policy and national security? Well, surely they trust Republicans. They started this war. Everyone wants to change the government in Iran. Nope. Democrats 46, Republicans 37, neither is 12. This is a historically, even before Trump started to dominate the issue of immigration and made it an issue that everybody trusted Republicans on more than Democrats. Foreign policy was the historic strong issue for Republicans. Democrats hadn't held an advantage on it since Jimmy Carter. This is where it's at. You might have seen me on a clip, if you didn't watch What Are the Odds, saying I will no longer do any clapping seal shows. I won't do it. I will not go on the slop shows anymore. I don't have any respect for any of you. I think you're cowards. I think you're either at best case scenario, you're stupid. And worst case scenario, you're not stupid. You're just a bunch of cowards. Maybe you're not personally responsible for where we are right now, but you contributed to it greatly. You had a chance to do things differently this time. You even had a dry run of how, as one of this man's supporters, you are required to act for him not to go off the rails. This is basically the worst kind of leader to be a sycophant under. And yet that's what you did. Why? Because you didn't want to get disinvited from the White House Christmas party? That was more important to you than the outcome of the November elections? Because why? You're afraid of the Israel lobby? You're a pussy? Is that why? You don't have the balls to stand up for 70% of the American public who doesn't want to fight this war anymore. They want out and they don't give a shit. They don't care about Ben Shapiro and his belly aches over the terms of the deal or whether we can trust Iran. Can we trust Iran? They are done listening to these people. And it's kind of funny. I did too. But they were definitely under the assumption that that's why they elected Donald Trump, so they didn't have to listen to people like them anymore. Idiots like Mark Levin and idiots like Ben Shapiro and idiot liars like Mark Thiessen, the speechwriter for every liar in the Iraq war. In case you can't read, that says 78.2%. Only 8.5% somewhat oppose, and only 11.7% strongly oppose. And I got news for you. As I tried to explain to everybody in the last poll that came out that the White House used in a press push for a peace deal, that some of the people who are in opposition to the peace deal are Democrats that are cheering on Republicans to continue the war because they know it's stupid, because they know it's unpopular, and because they want to win so they can remove Trump. Very, very, very tiny, minuscule faction in this country wants to fight on for Israel. They don't give a shit. Speaking of Mark Thiessen, another total moron, do you think it is worth paying $4 per gallon or higher for gas to continue fighting the Iran war? 65%? Nope. Moving on, let's look at how much they're willing to pay. How much per gallon would you be willing to pay for gas as a result of continuing to fight the Iran war? You have to understand, folks, the prompt tells them that gas was just under $3 a gallon on February 6th. And the next day was I think it was 14 or 17, whatever it was. The prompt has the correct AAA national average. So what the country is telling you here, 11% is worth paying. 11%, 10.7 say, yeah, I'd pay $4. The vast majority of people are saying, I am not willing to pay more for gas because of the Iran war. Now, if Mark Levin wants to take his 10.7% and run with it, and Mark Thiessen wants to take their tiny, minuscule percentage of the American electorate and run with it, do you, boo? Go start another party. Or maybe it's just time for the rest of that chunk to start another party. Because unfortunately, as it stands right now, that's not what's going to happen. They're going to vote for the other one. The one I showed you is 6 in 10 Democratic Socialist and 7 additional percent flatly socialist. They're going to vote for that other supermajority socialist party that they're now telling you you're supposed to be so scared of. Do I have to go and get the clips? A year ago now, do I have to go get the clips of me saying that not only will we end up here if you do this stupidity and you carry out this betrayal, but I can hear them now. But if you don't vote for us, the socialists are coming. And how it won't work. Because if you truly were concerned about America's fate because socialists are going to take over, you would never, ever have put Miriam Adelson and her, she's not even, give me this, again, with this dual loyalty bullshit. You would never have put the needs of an Israeli citizen above your own country. That's what you did. You're not America first. You're not even America anything. And when this happens, because apparently he's just unwilling to course correct, he feels like he has dug himself such a deep ditch, a grave. It's become his grave. So out of ego or whatever, or the inability to push back against lobby, he's just captured by the lobby. I'm tired of trying to deduce the explanation for this inexplicable stupidity. Not even Barack Obama disintegrated his coalition this fast. He didn't. He lost a lot of people from 08 to 12, but he kept enough to win a majority. No chance. I'd be stunned if Donald Trump got 44, 45% of the vote if he ran for re-election. I'd be stunned. If it was today. I think Joe Biden could beat Donald Trump for re-election today. You think I'm kidding? See the reports of Harris getting ready to run again? Well, guess what? Kamala Harris actually still has the lead in the Democratic primary. And they front-loaded South Carolina. So laugh all you want, because if given the chance again, Donald Trump would lose. Donald Trump's successor is going to lose at this rate. This is a fucking tragedy. I've never seen a party commit suicide. Listen, at some point, I'm glad that everyone is starting now to talk about the impact of foreign money in our politics, on social media, in campaigns, in our politics. I'm very, very glad that that is becoming a conversation now. However, I don't know at this point whether it matters. I mean, I don't mean to sound so glum about it, but does it even matter anymore? They did their damage. They did their damage. Miriam Adelson doesn't give a fuck about the Republican Party, clearly. Mark Levin doesn't give a fuck about the Republican Party, clearly. Ben Shapiro doesn't give a fuck about the Republican Party, clearly. I mean, the two of them, the latter two, were just talking not long ago about how the problem with big tent politics is that you're bringing a lot of weirdos. The problem with big tent politics only arises when a teeny tiny little faction has disproportionate influence over the rest of that tent and gets what they want at the expense of the vast majority under the tent. But thank you for telling us that you really never supported what Charlie was doing. You were full of shit. And I hope TPUSA remembers that the next time they have an event and you bitch and moan and cry because you didn't get an invite. You literally bitch your way onto the stage. I hope they remember that next time. Andrew, remember that next time, Andrew. Not everybody was allowed on Charlie's stage. Not everybody. They're a fucking dying faction and they fucking killed you with them. Anyone who gives these people a microphone at this point is actively to destroy the country. I don't care. Forget Nick Fuentes. In 2 to 5 years, Nick Fuentes is going to have far more support in this country than Ben Shapiro does. That's a fact. And it's Ben Shapiro's fault. And the rest of that group, you did it to yourselves. Go ask Daddy why he wasn't smarter with $740 million in Hasbara money. I don't give a shit if you want to destroy yourselves. But you had zero right to take the Trump coalition down with you, since you didn't build it. And you took the Republican Party with you too. This is permanent brand damage. I'm not kidding. I mean, now all of these people are suddenly frantic. That WAPO story leaks, and everyone's talking to the Washington Post. It's not just them. I get it, guys. They're a sleaze rag. Guess what? They're telling you the truth. Those insiders are running to everybody now. They're running to the Wall Street Journal. They're running to Axios. They're running to anyone who will listen and anyone who's willing to print it, because the fact of the matter is a lot of these outlets don't want to print it. They want Republicans to keep going and pretend like they're good. They want them nice and complacent. They want them totally delusional in what is basically modernized Q slop, thinking all is well and they're somehow going to win. Like, look at them. Go look on social media right now. Go look at them. Go look at them pretend Georgia is competitive right now. They're in a totally different world. They are in fantasy world. And the Washington Post, with the exception of a couple reports like that, would do nothing more than to keep you in that fantasy world, to keep Republicans in that fantasy world. Of course they would. Because those same people who are running to the Washington Post and the Axios, and they're all running to me. Well, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know. I knew a year ago. I knew 6 months ago. I knew when they asked me to come to the White House, and I went on my own dime and told them exactly what to do. I knew when Robert Barnes and I, on our own dime, did a massive study polling every freaking policy in the Four Freedoms platform. I knew what to do then. I don't know what you do to fix this. The last time you tarnished the Republican brand this badly, Donald Trump had to come along. After 8 years of losing, by the way. Because that's what political betrayals do. They put you in the wilderness. The average time that you were in the dark ages, the political dark ages, after a political betrayal of this magnitude and brand damage of this magnitude is about a decade. I don't know what else to tell you. Let's watch Moreno beat up Fauci for another 5 minutes.
Mr. Fauci, do you know who David Schertler is?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. What does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution say?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
No, I'm just asking you what it says.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I'm going to give the Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So you're invoking a right that you don't know who wrote it or what it says. Is that correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Wow. All right, let me tell you who David Schertler is for the audience, because he was ejected by the chairman. He's a high-profile criminal attorney. He's represented some really great people, like Senator Bob Menendez. Maybe that's somebody who my Democrat colleagues may remember took gold bars as bribes from the Egyptians. And there's an article here in the Washington Free Beacon that talks about why you would hire a guy like David Schertler. And the comment is, if you're in deep shit, that's who you call. Shit.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Okay, can we just drag him out now? Like,
Clearly,
I mean, that's it. So where's the sergeant in arms? This guy has lied to Congress multiple times. Where's the sergeant at arms? Why was he not drugged out of this freaking hearing room and put into cuffs? Like, what are you doing right now, Donald Trump? What are you doing? Why haven't you gone after the auto pen? Just this guy alone. You want to leave everybody else alone? That's fine. This guy is Listen, did you enjoy being in handcuffs, Mr. President? Do you have any idea how much this guy was part of what happened to you? You would never have been defeated if it wasn't for Anthony Fauci. Do you not understand that? Oh my God. A huge problem here is that all anyone around the president gives two shits about is getting filthy rich. That's obvious, isn't it? Well, then what's the difference between Anthony Fauci? What's the fucking difference? You know, a buddy of mine is watching, actually just texted. He's like, you know, I know what to do. I can answer your question real easy. Do what everybody else is doing. Stop caring. Make as much money as you possibly can. I mean, apparently that was my problem. Apparently, while we're in the wilderness, brother, for 10 years, for the next 10 years, I might as well just do that, right? At this point, Big Data Poll is open for business. Are you kidding me? Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to get paid $2 million by Russian oligarchs to push bullshit because I'm a foreign agent. But I don't really see the need for the charitable work that I've been doing for the last decade plus. It is charitable work. For what? For this? I didn't even get those PPP loans. I didn't. I was eligible for them. I didn't take them. Why? I don't know. I still wouldn't take them. Because even though they forced me to close my office in Gainesville, I was not I was not an essential professional job. Even though they forced me to do that and I had to pay rent there anyway. I paid the rent up front. I still could have gotten those loans, and I didn't because I just said, everybody go home, whatever. We all work from home. I'm not taking the taxpayers' money. What a fucking idiot I was. What an idiot. Moron. I'm absolutely moron. Absolute fool. Unbelievable. Yeah, and the problem is then it's another, and another what? And another 4 weeks without it and washing, right? It is what it is. Stick to one task at a time here, brother. Okay? One thing at a time. Don't text me and ask what to do at this point. There is nothing to do. There is not, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say. They're not going to do it. Get your lazy, fat fucking asses back in the Senate, nuke the filibuster, pass the SAVE Act, do something about affordability, pass something of a bill that represents an article that you care about the American public. Kick Netanyahu to the curb on his way out of town, make him get on his knees and kiss the Washington Monument, then send him packing to go fight the war himself that he started. Stop wasting interceptors protecting their people that we have to pay for when our bases were under attack last week and they wouldn't give us a fucking thing. Stop saying that people made their sacrifices and we'll never forget them because nobody believes it. Stop insulting the intelligence of the American voter. Don't reauthorize FISA without reforms. Remember your promise to completely obliterate the deep state? Stop giving Vladimir Zelensky a lifeline because you also promised to end that stupid fucking war in 48 hours. Pass vaccine injury reform and make it so Americans can hold this piece of shit little evil elf and his friends personally responsible for when a vaccine kills someone. Because do you know who Bernie Moreno is citing and telling him to turn around and look at? People who were hurt by vaccines, people who were hurt by having their businesses forced closed, people who were unfairly targeted because of mandates that had no science behind them. While you're at it, call Gail Slater and ask Gail Slater for your forgiveness, for her forgiveness. Get on your knees and beg her to come back and kick out the unregistered lobbyists like Mike Davis who turned the antitrust division into their personal bank account and actually use it for what it's supposed to be used for, busting up monopolies. Go after the woke corporations that pay him millions now to make you look like a fraud. You want more advice? You sure? But you won't do any of it. You're not going to do any of it. All you're going to do is bitch and moan about how socialists are going to take over the country. You're right, they are. Because you refuse to burn it down. You ran on doing it, but you refuse to do it. If you want to know what's in store for us, go pre-order it right now because we give you all exactly the scenario. I'm going to show you what your future looks like from MAGA being a total fucking fraud. And again, you think I like this? I don't. I have kids. Maybe it's a response bias. Okay, Mr. fucking nobody who's never conducted a poll in his life, who has never done this job. Bunch of idiots who steal polling data sets and do videos for clicks on their knees, sucking off guys who do the job right themselves. At some point, you just get what you deserve. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at some point, you get what you deserve. Special envoy to Ukraine. Are you aware that never mind. I'm not going to get it because I wouldn't want someone talking about my marriage. There are low blows, I'll just leave it at that. But what kind of an idiot would jeopardize something for that? What kind of a moron? All right, let's get to these questions. 440 joules. Thanks, Katie Cat. I'm not sure what the joules are for, but I love you for it. I just turned them on. They just told me to turn them on. UNC alert. Oof, this is good. Hey, Rich, if you had to predict the generic ballot popular vote range. What are you thinking at this point? I know your last poll was D+9, RCP is 5.3. I'm thinking our generic ballot is probably going to come more in the D+11 to 12 range, maybe 13 again. Maybe it pops back up to 13. But I think it's probably more like D+11. By the way, all of a sudden, Spencer is a bad pollster too. Get the fuck out of here. You guys are a bunch of, cultists they're just a bunch of losers, losers, like sticking your head in the sand. Owen Schroyer's right. I mean, he was right about that yesterday. Damn well, some part of you knows damn well that you're not mad at me. You're not mad at Owen. You're not mad at Alex for calling for Trump's impeachment yesterday. But by the way, Alex is right about that. Grok can try to fact check, and all these other people can try to fact check him all he wants, but they passed that last year, and those AIs are Sims. He's right. That is what they're doing behind the scenes. Do I know Trump knows about it? No, but we don't have a force as big as we did before the Iraq invasion. Alex Jones is right. And oh, by the way, don't be surprised if an aircraft carrier ends up at the bottom of the Gulf to try to get you pissed off at the Iranians and rah rooting for war. Let me just explain this to the administration right now. If something like that happens, because you just found out now that the era of the aircraft carrier is over and you need an excuse to spend another fucking $20 trillion we don't have to rebuild a military, you just found out that our military is fighting like we're in the Stone Age, that the era of that warfare is over, and drone warfare is infinitely more effective at this point, that we're sending up $8 million pieces of equipment to blow something out of the sky that's $200,000. If you do something like that, I hope you understand this isn't the Gulf of Tonkin. This isn't 9/11. This isn't the USS Arizona. They'll be pissed, all right, at you for having a casualty event like that in a war they never wanted. Oh yeah, they'll be pissed. They'll be up in arms. It just won't be to take out the Iranian regime. It'll be to take out your regime. So Radiohead, it's going to be double digits. There is a way I could see it getting to like 9 or 10. It's just, I would be shocked at that. And I'm just trying to prepare you guys the best I can right now. It was, 11, 13, then went to 9. The peace deal rug pull, it would make sense to me that it would lead to a blowing open of the generic ballot. And guys, no insider on the right or left believes the tightening is real, which, by the way, now it's expanding again, but nobody believes that tightening. Nobody. It's not real. The president's own pollster had it worse than us. Not this poll, but the poll before. And in fact, we had Ossoff up by 8 in a poll that we did for someone last month. In this, he's going to be up like 11, like Tony Fabrizio has it. Looks like Tony's right. He'll be up like 11 points. Eagle. Thank you, brother. Or, I mean, you could be a girl. I'm sorry. Why do I just assume gender? Thank you, fellow patriot, for your support. Wonder if GOP self-destruction is intentional. Give me 80s Newsweek geek. Give me a sec. Newswave geek. Oh, let's follow this for a second. Dems will bring in totalitarianism and surveillance. The GOP establishment, I suspect, secretly favors it all. Mark Levin loves surveillance and totalitarianism. Mark Levin is a neocon. There is nothing conservative about neocons except for the root word conservative. That's it. They are all a bunch of children of Trotskyites. left-wing, and yes, largely Jewish, left-wing thinkers who were Trotskyites. Mark Levin celebrated mass surveillance. Mark Levin called Snowden a traitor. Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro cheered as they deplatformed Alex Jones. There's nothing constitutionalist, nothing conservative about these people. Neocons and rhinos are leftists. They have always been. And Reagan knew that. They all pretend like they were like Reagan coalition people. Reagan was a big tent guy, by the way. He just didn't let you run the tent like Trump did this time, which is going to be Trump's legacy at this point. Trump's legacy will be one of, it will not be positive. But let's stick to that for a second, okay? This is a group of people who never supported MAGA, never supported America First, never supported the president, never supported the platform, are with Democrats 70% of the time on most of these big issues. Let's get real. There's no discernible difference between Dick Durbin and Ben Shapiro. Not on the key issues, there isn't. Not on mass surveillance, there isn't. With Mark Levin and Dick Durbin, I think Dick Durbin is more pro-Fourth Amendment than Mark Levin is. If the late Dianne Feinstein was alive right now, she would definitely argue that. Because they trashed Feinstein when she was trying to get this shit under control. They trashed her. They trashed Susan Collins when she simply wanted an office in the intel community that was able to oversee what all these damn people were doing. They trashed her. And I'm not a fan of Susan Collins. But let's do this for a second. Let's game this out for a second, because I tweeted about it the other day. None of these people, none of them, they get them to stupid, unpopular war that nobody wants, that everyone knew would risk the coalition, would risk the majorities, would risk Democratic takeover. Everybody knew it. So it never dawned on any of these simpletons that for a second, it may be their intention that they don't give a shit what happens to Donald Trump, that they don't give a shit what happens to their voters. It never dawned on any of them that this, in fact, could be completely intentional. Intentional sabotage. Because that's what neocons do anyway. I told you, they're parasites. They don't ever build a coalition on their own. They never pull together a governing majority. They leech on others. And they use their money and they use their influence to take until eventually they exhaust all of the capital of that coalition and then they move on. And like most parasites, find a way to survive when their initial host is dead. They go and cling on to another one. I think it is totally intentional. 80s News Wave Geek. Great comment. Jared Huss, you heated Rich. Laugh out loud. Lol. Rightfully so. I voted Trump 3 times. I'm done voting now. Hate to say it. Jared, did I read the comment from the initial guy? I had given it to Matt. Let me see. Let me get this guy's response. All right. And they're everywhere. We are going to go over the responses in more detail. I'm going to start reading to you guys the elaborated responses. It's just that I have to put them all in a crosstab so you can see them more easily. Okay. I don't want to show any personal identification, but let me show you guys. Okay. Let me upload a bunch of stuff. This guy he's not a high propensity voter because he doesn't vote in primaries all the time. But let me just show you what he said to these questions before it. And then, so you know who he is, what he is. And the Senate ballot. Okay. Vance for the primary. Let me just show you though. Okay. And then I'll show you his rank distribution. I can't show everything all at once, but I know this is going to take a lot on one comment, but I really think that this is important. I think you guys need to see this. Negative sentiment score 4. I don't want to show suburban Pennsylvania Catholic, some college associate degree, $50,000 to $100,000 a year, employed working full time. So at least he's got a job. 41-year-old male, white, not a union member. Says now shares little in common with either party. Did you ever previously identify with America First or MAGA, but now no longer do? Yes. Independent, conservative. Now let's look at his answers to some of these questions. Hold on. I'm going to see if I can't grab everything I just screenshotted in like one fell swoop so I can show you guys this. I can't, unfortunately. Damn, that sucks. All right. I just want to prove to you he's a Trump voter. Okay. There, that's one. Let me go image file 1. Right track, wrong track. That has Trump's vote thing on it too. All right. Register voter economic confidence index. Got it. I want to show you what he said to that too. Oh shit. I just did the same thing. Okay. There we go. They're not the same, right? No. Okay, good. This is coming along. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're almost there. And then after this, one more. I just can't, if I pull up the screen, it will show you his personal information. And I can't do that. So just bear with me. Okay. This is what this guy said. Oops. Josh Hawley, get out of here. None but love for you, brother. I'll come back for you in a second. Josh is another good guy who Donald Trump attacked, by the way. All right. This is the beginning of the survey. Thinking back to the 24 election, who did you vote? Donald Trump. Generally speaking, do you say things are headed in the right direction, wrong direction? They got off on the wrong track. Register voter economic confidence index. All wrong track. Everything negative. Everything. And let me just move your comment for a second, Jared, so you can see where it is. Somewhat disapprove, he says, of Donald Trump. The job overall. When you look at what is the approve or disapprove on when it comes to issues, economy and jobs, strongly disapprove. Immigration and border security, somewhat approve. Foreign policy, national security, strongly disapprove. Inflation, cost of living, strongly disapprove. Crime and safety, somewhat approve. Russo-Ukrainian war. What? Laura Loomer said, MAGA really wants to fight the war. Strongly disapprove. Israel-Palestinian conflict, strongly disapprove. Situation in Venezuela, somewhat approve. Situation in Iran, strongly disapprove. If the House election was today, he says Republican. Okay, watch though, pay attention. If the election for the U.S. Senate were held today, for which party candidate would you vote? He says the Republican. Okay, if the Republican primary caucus for the presidential nomination, depends what state they're in. If they're in Iowa, we say caucus, right? For whom would you vote? J.D. Vance. Now let's do the whole thing of rank distribution better so you can see. He says economy. He says inflation, cost of living. Number 2, he ranked economy and jobs. Number 3, he ranked immigration, border security. He's a right-leaning Indy, so not surprised. 4, corruption and accountability. 5, healthcare. Because they're broke, because everybody's broke. 6, crime and safety. 7, election integrity and reforms. 8, national debt and deficits. 9, this is a Trump voter. He rated foreign policy and national security 9. Gun rights, gun control 10, environment, climate change, abortion rights, etc. Number 12, trust to handle issues, neither across the board, except he trusted Republicans more on immigration and border security. Everything else, he said, neither party. Now, here comes the juice. Do you support or oppose reopening negotiations to end the Iran war? Strongly support. Do you think it is worth paying $4 per gallon or higher for gas to continue fighting the Iran war? No, not worth it. How much per gallon would you be willing to pay for gas as a result of continuing to fight the Iran war? Fighting the Iran war is not worth paying more for gas. Considering the economic costs of the U.S. fighting the Iran war, do you believe it is worth fighting or not worth fighting? Not worth fighting. Thinking about domestic issues versus foreign affairs, which comes closer to your view regarding the current focus of the Trump administration? Too focused on foreign affairs, not enough on domestic affairs. This is the guy, by the way, that I brought up with Owen. Can you elaborate on your responses given to the question so far? Meaning, why did you choose the answers you did? Here's the TTS. Which is, or actually it's in this case, S to T, I think. Yeah. This war is a disaster. The president betrayed us for Israel and billionaires. Though I said for this survey I'd vote, I don't want to vote and didn't in the primary for my state. Republicans were garbage before Trump, and now he's joined the Epstein class, which he capitalized with the rest of the crooks. So this dude ain't voting. This dude only said he was going to vote so he could tell me how he feels, which is not good. Holy shit. Oh my God. So when I tell you, Jared, that I think you represent currently like 35% of Trump's coalition, like I'm serious. Now, will a lot out and vote? Yeah. But this is like a huge, huge chunk of people. We haven't seen anything like this before in politics. I have never seen this before. I thought we saw some fracture with Biden's. If you guys remember, we would constantly say 8 to 15% fractured off, and I made a huge deal of it. Democrats dismissed it, and they were like, that's nothing. And then the New York Times published and same thing, and they were like, actually, it looks like Trump's winning those mind changers like 5-1, and that's like 14% of Biden's vote. If you do the math, you're talking about millions and millions of people. Biden's in trouble. This is way more than that. This is a Ross Perot moment on steroids that could happen. I'm telling you. Guys, they better pray Tucker Carlson doesn't run for president, which I know he doesn't want to do. But if somebody like him were to come along, JD is beat. And I will make no secret about it. It's not just that I agree with him on a lot of politics. I have met a lot of people in this business. He is a genuine guy who believes what he says. That's rare. Now, would I sit here and tell you if he was elected president, he would not let you down? Well, I can't tell you that, and I'm never going to put my faith in another man. I didn't even with Trump. I have news for you. I just don't believe in idol worship. I don't believe in cult of personality. But I'm telling you, JD is a good man. Not only that, but he's honest. He believes it. And it doesn't matter. He get creamed. If like Tucker and Joe Kent ran, they're taking 30% of the vote. I'm telling you, think I'm kidding? I'm not. Republicans will have like 18% and Democrats will win. He could kill it tomorrow if he wanted to. Now, it's funny because you're looking at, but that's a Republican primary. Tucker's not getting a lot of the vote in a primary, but that's because of who votes in a primary. Come a general, Ross Perot couldn't have gotten 20% in a Republican primary either, but he got 20% of the general election vote. It's two totally different things. A lot of Tucker's vote comes from indies now. Democrats are crazy to them, but Republicans are frauds. Telling you, and there's somebody else in mind too. I'm not even going to say it. This guy runs, we're doomed. We're doomed. I don't even know why I'm saying we. I do not consider myself a Republican. I want nothing to do with this party as like an association. No, sir. I'm an independent pollster. Thank you. The idea to ride out the GOP is based on a false idea of what the GOP Trump is. Fauci with less class. The Dems are weak, discredited. They would have to tear up everything to push their agenda. That's one of two. You got another one in there? Because I'll read it back to back, Brian. Let me see. Let me try to find it. Yeah, you do. Riding out the GOP allows the Dems to play to their strengths. Slow subversion, boiling the frog. The GOP would help them do it. There's only the uniparty. Really hurting the GOP hurts the uniparty. I mean, this is why, like, we have P Pick and Cute on Locals, and she's always the socialists take over if you sit out of it. And I do understand that argument. But it's also what Brian is saying is also true. That they're helping them. Nobody has helped the socialists more in the last fucking 10 years than Donald Trump by doing what he did here, by starting this unpopular war, than the neocons. You know, I mean, nobody. This is true, though. The problem with GOP is that you're just letting slow subversion happen and take place. I mean, I agree with that. Let me say this, though, P. Pickin. If Elon Musk was to agree to bankroll it, okay, my plan, then Democrats wouldn't take the Congress anyway. They wouldn't, because it would just be more like a parliamentary system. And what you would wind up seeing happen is that I guarantee you would see on a lot of very important issues to you, you would see Republicans side with Democrats against this new party. Guarantee it. But that's okay, because we'd at least be able to foil their plans. And I think, honestly, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to tell everybody what I'm thinking. All right. I will tell like Tucker what I'm thinking. I'll tell Elon Musk what I'm thinking, but I'm fairly certain I cracked the code here. I'm telling you, this is doable. And it's happened before. And America Barnes is right. It's happened before in American history. It has. Rocket Boy. Fauci, Birx, Redfield, another one. Collins, Hahn conspired to trap Trump into committing to lockdowns. It's in Fauci's diary for F's sake. What kind of man lets that happen and not hold them accountable? Well, Susie? Oh, shit. I mean, but right, it's literally, guys, have you read, if you have not read Fauci's diary, you need to read it. You need to read what is public. It's outrageous. They did this on purpose. And he's not doing anything. I'm sorry, it is. I hate talking about Trump like this, but you have to be objective. It is another betrayal. All of these millennial moms and Gen X moms who are low propensity, who came out, many of them even educated. That's what helped Trump do better with educated white women, by the way, them coming out. Mind Changers was the smaller part of it. Bringing out these newer Maha moms, they did it. And he's stabbing them in the back, man. I mean, that's it. They wanted blood. You understand? Political, figuratively. You want them back? Rich gas is rising in my area and corruption. Wow. Like the manipulation is off the charts. A revolution will come, but the type is what scares me. Steve, it's all in, I'm telling you, it's all in Burn It Down. We give several potential examples, we give examples that we think are comparable to several potential scenarios. All right. It is not, unfortunately, it's not novel. This is what happens. We are not exempt. It will happen to us too. It will. And I hate to say it, but it will. Awesome. Clapping seal. Oh, I have that turned off now. I need to. Oh, you want me to turn it back on? Let me see. Can I manually do it? Hold on. Because, I mean, listen, it's a jewel. All right. He wants it. He gets it. I think it's in here. I just got it. I don't know. Laura does it. I'm not sure if she turns it on auto, but let me see if I can find it for you. I got it. One more time. Oh, that's unbelievable. It's just so bad. I mean, we've been doing that. We were doing that for months ago, right? These people still with the shit. No, I'm not getting in the life raft. There's nothing wrong with the ship. All right, man. Chili, 6 joules. Thanks, TreeSap. 10 joules. Thumbs up. Thanks, TreeSap. It's just so tragic. I have felt like I've been watching a Greek tragedy all this time, and it was actually way worse than I thought. It was worse than a Greek tragedy. Worse. Way worse. I smell what Laura's brought me home, and it's driving me, frankly, a little crazy. Let's get through the locals. Could you steel man both sides of the argument between gotta vote GOP because Dems will, I just did, because Dems will ruin things, and the other side that GOP won't learn if they don't get the stuffing kicked out of them electorally? JBMCW, thank you for the tip. Great example. We just went over it, but I'll repeat it. That there are both sides that have I believe, valid points. It's just that I do think we've been doing one of already for this long. Okay, so both sides are like this. All right, one says that basically we have to keep voting GOP if you're a right winger because the socialists will get in and you're just helping the socialists. The other side of that, however, says that's what we've been doing, and it is leading to nothing but basically a slow burn anyway. And we might as well destroy the GOP now while we have a chance to rebuild something that can win and be effective before it's all over. So the reason why I've been more persuaded by argument B, right, is that I think we're at it. I don't think it's the math. It's the math and burn it down. The silent gen is almost gone. The boomers are going to start to phase out, and when they phase out, it'll be very quick. Actually, they already started. That's the thing. You just haven't noticed yet because they still vote at high rates comparable to others. But eventually, their share as the voting eligible population will dwindle to the point where it doesn't matter. They vote at high rates. They'll be like the silent gen is now, where it doesn't matter if millennials only vote at half the rate, they're still going to be 32% of the electorate combined, whereas silent gens, if they're lucky, will get the 6. That's what's going to happen very soon to boomers. And the worst part is compounded. This problem is compounded by the fact that Boomer 1 is more right-wing than Boomer 2. Boomer 2 created the professional managerial class in this country. Boomer 1 went off and fought the war. There are a lot of working class people there still. They're flag wavers. They're good, patriotic, right-wing Americans. And Boomer 1 is not. They're just not. I'm sorry. And even part of Boomer 2, let's get real. Even part of Boomer 2. I really think you guys will read Gabe Guardarini's forward before and burn it down before you even get to chapter 1. I couldn't have asked and understand. And I really couldn't have asked for somebody better to write that forward. The idea is not to just it's not just a warning. And I mean a warning. It's also an attempt to get boomers to understand what they just don't seem to have the capacity to understand. And then maybe they'll let go early enough without it being wrestled from literally their cold dead hands. Because if they make us wrestle it from their cold dead hands, we'll probably be too late. I think we're at this point the hours late already. I love Dread Roberts' comments because he always brings you just right back down into reality. Sometimes I think he's too hard on the administration, even though listen to how I just talked about them. But he brings you right back to it. Listen to his comment. And thanks for the tip, Robert. Does Trump realize that Fauci got him before Bibi? That he could not publicly admit he was scammed was a warning that I feel stupid for not taking serious enough since I still voted for Trump. If it's not that, Ron Johnson or Rand Paul, I don't think any senator is worth a vote or even the benefit of the doubt, including Hallie and the rest of the posers. Ooh. 35%. Hope for better. How different would it look if we admitted Trump is and always was a New York Democrat? He didn't get a second term. Biden did. Oh, shit. These comments are just going to be brutal. Rich, what % of formerly Republican likely voters, if it was a different election, do you think will skip this election? In Virginia, that was a big part of what killed Sears, May Arison. Yes. And by the way, we did their autopsy. We did a big part. We did a big places autopsy. I'll just say that. Really, Robert, I think it's 35%. I think we're at a third. Let's just call it a third because 1 in 5 reliables don't want to come out right now. That is true. But I'm very concerned about the ones they had to turn into midterm voters. I don't think this will be a very high turnout midterm at this point. Right now, I think 46% says they're extremely enthusiastic. Let me look. No, it's still here. Of likely voters, not registered, It's less. And just so you know, I'm not bullshitting you guys. Let me put it up. It's less. 45% are extremely enthusiastic. 25% are moderately, only 22.7 are very, 4.1 slightly, 3.2 not at all. And by the way, Republicans are disproportionately not at all enthusiastic. Guys, this is an absolute disaster. Oops, sorry, Shirley. Okay, let's go back to I hate these congressional hearings, just a bunch of mock outrage, grandstanding, and sound bites for donor emails. Nothing ever gets accomplished, no one is ever punished, and wouldn't be surprised if they all go out for drinks to laugh about how they dupe us lowly peasants. I mean, I gotta tell you, that happens all the time at the Mayflower. The future belongs to the side that says, I don't care what the law says first. Philly Patriots, thanks for the tip. And by the way, also Yard Hatch, thanks for the tip. Yeah, you guys, I mean, yes. And again, I hate to keep doing the shameless plugging of the book, but in Burn It Down, you will actually see that is true. And that's unfortunate. And I'm not writing it because I like it. I just think that, the evidence is overwhelming. People are looking for a WWE Steve Austin to come in and spray beer all over the ring and kick the boss's deep state, Epstein class, Israel's ass. Yep. That's Poshin. Yep. Thanks for the tip. Robert again. Larry Ellison wants constant surveillance on the public. We know Trump is a huge fan. I think it's easier to list Republicans who are against it, the one who for rather than the ones for it. Yeah, Paul Massey. I'm sure there are a few more, but these guys love FISA, Patriot Act. Larry Ellison is very welcome in their offices, not even getting off Palantir, and not even getting on Palantir. Oh yeah, man. He's right. He's right about this. I hate to say it. Rich, I saw Bannon among 50 influential reporters, editors the CCP paid since 2004 to support pro-Chinese policies. Where did you see that? Because I saw the War Room report on that. And American elected officials who were favorable to the CCP was Charlie Cook of Cook Political Report. Please discuss 20 years ago how powerful Cook Political Report was in D.C. and what this means to pollsters. Oh, Blondie, what a great observation. For a long time, Cook Political Report was basically the only game in town, literally in town. And you had the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia, which is Larry's tiny crystal balls. But Cook was it. Charlie Cook was it. That's it. He was it. And then you had Stu Rothenberg and stuff for a while, but he was always an outsider because he was from West Virginia. So he was always looked at like, a little bit of a weenie. But yeah. Chungster's live on Rumble. So while we wrap up here, guys, head on over to Chungster. He's on Rumble. He's always got a very entertaining stream. DSA versus Democrats, America First versus Republicans. Fight! I love that profile. I'll follow your lead. Lay out the plan. After what I just read, I'm livid. Been pissed for hours. Fuming. This is pea picking. He's lost his mother and mine. I'm going to have to watch Dan again to mind F myself back to happy. Yeah. Got three choices. Fine. Heroin, bury myself in the backyard. You tell me something good. I hate drugs. I'll be too damn tired. Stay away from heroin, And for those of you who know, I myself was I guess you're never not an addict, but it's been like 20 years. I'll be too damn tired to cover myself up after digging a damn hole. That leaves you, Rich. Tell me something good. The place is surrounded by mountains. What's he effing doing? Still not voting D. What's good? I think good is that I don't think they're going to get Texas. I think it'll be close, but I don't think they're going to get Texas. And they can't because, oh my God, if they get Texas, they're going to be so emboldened if Tallarico wins. I think the Dems' behavior leading into 2028 will matter if it'll make a difference based on their performance. And if they wind up taking the big prize, which is Texas, then it's a big issue. Yeah, Blondie, by the way, so that's good news. And also good news is that we're going to Chattanooga this weekend. Natalie Winters has a list of 50 on X, some big names on the Chinese payroll. Oh, I thought you were saying, though, that Bannon was on the payroll. And I'm like, no, I saw that list. There are big names on this payroll. Big names. You know what? before we go, and I know we're there, and then I'm going to have to go and work on the poll until 11 o'clock at night. It's done. At least I'll just be able to, Natalie, you don't follow me, girl? That's some bullshit. Natalie, I know Grace is watching. Let's get the follow back here. I see you over on the Glenn Beck show and shit. Come on, girl. This is War Room Posse stuff. I'm not going to take offense here yet. Grace, clip it, Grace. I fully expect Natalie to follow me back here. Okay? This is like bullshit. None but love for you, Natalie. None but love. I'm scrolling down because she's all in the FARA stuff. Like, yeah, like a lot of these people are clearly violating FARA. And again, like if this was a Democratic administration and it was another country and it was Republican media people, they'd be in fucking jail right now. They'd be rounded up. They'd be thrown in jail. How did I miss this? You got the link for this? Because I saw the FARA stuff. How did I miss her links? I retweeted it. Maybe it would be easier for me to go and find it in mine. I can't find. Oh, there it is. I got it. Because I'm like, I can't find what I retweeted, which would be the easiest thing to do. I got it, though. All right. This is an outrage. Okay? This is bad. Guys, if you go back and read some of the people here, you'll see Ezra Klein. I knew immediately. I was like, of course. Matthew Iglesias from Vox. You have seen CCP propaganda on these outlets from these people. But so she says, revealed, here are the mainstream journalists on China's payroll. I exclusively uncovered the identities of prominent U.S. journalists flown to China by a CCP-linked influence operation seeking, quote, favorable coverage, unquote, and, quote again, positive messages, unquote, about Beijing. She's got them dead to rights here. The names include Ezra Klein, the New York Times columnist, Matthew Iglesias, Vox co-founder, Ronald Brownstein, CNN senior political analyst. Everyone knows Ronald. Bradford Plumer, New York Times reporter, Marjorie Miller, former Associated Press vice president. Also identified Steve Clemens, former The Hill editor-at-large. David Rode, MS Now, senior national security reporter. Jonathan Alter, NBC News and MSNBC political analyst. David Sweeney, former NPR managing editor. Daniel Gross, former Yahoo Finance columnist. Guys, some of these people we knew about the deep state, our own deep state, the issue with them plugging in like national security reporter or analyst into these cable and network news channels, pretending like they're impartial and they're not. Also on the roster, Marilyn Giwax, former NPR senior editor. Catherine Devini, former Newsweek editor. Tom Olmsted, former U.S. News and World Report correspondent. Steve Chapman, the former Chicago Tribune columnist. Bruce Stokes, former National Journal correspondent. The list continues. Greg Gilbert, former Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Washington bureau chief. Tony Samarad, Salt Lake Tribune reporter. Simca Dalma, former The Newsweek columnist. Jonathan Broder, former Newsweek senior writer. Also identified Chris Comp, former Chicago Tribune associate managing editor. John Healy, Los Angeles Times deputy editorial page editor. Julian Peckwitt, who's the former foreign affairs reporter. This is just unbelievable. And if you go through, you'll be able to see, published it though, I know, and she's been on War Room a lot talking about it. But she'll go through people's stuff. You can go and, oh, there it is. This is the CCP linked operation. So let me just hit note that. There it is. The mainstream journalists. And here the pay for play stuff. She's got article after article up here. It's truly unbelievable. I would go to her Substack so you guys can see it. She did that first article and then threw more up there. This is the outlets who have been payrolling people who are on the payroll of the CCP. You won't be surprised. The New York Times, the Washington Post, Politico, the New Yorker, the Atlantic, NPR, PBS, WNYC, Newsweek, Time, Foreign Affairs, USA Today, Financial Times. Guys, and some of these unbelievable. Here we go. In 2007, Charles Cook, publisher of the Cook Politico Report, he went in 2007 to the CCP on these trips. Think about Juan Williams, remember the fucking Five guy from the NPR guy who was on Fox News? He was a paid contributor. He had like a $2 million contract, I think. David Brooks, anti-Trump, never Trumper piece of shit at the New York Times. Jill Abramson, constantly fighting on Twitter with this one. Managing editor at the New York Times. John Byrne, executive editor at Business Week. Clarence Page, we all know him. Chicago Tribune, editorial board member. Rana Faruhar, deputy editor of Newsweek. John Gapper, associate editor and columnist of Financial Times. And no surprise here, Russia collusion hoaxer himself, David Ignatius, associate editor and columnist at the Washington Post. Tavis Smiley, remember him? Host in PBS and Public Radio International. Also a frequent person on Fox News. They would let on to push their bullshit. Dean Baggett from the Washington Bureau Chief of the New York Times, Eugene Robinson from the Washington Post, Nicholas Goldberg, Rexha Baju, the Des Moines Register, Nicholas Goldberg from the Los Angeles Times, Clive Crook, aptly named, from the Atlantic, Brian Lair, WNYC, he's a big name over there, Winnie O'Kelly, deputy business editor at the New York Times, Gary Silverman, new U.S. News editor and deputy managing editor at the Financial Times, Jonathan Tepperman, managing editor at the Foreign Affairs. I mean, this is Adam Kushner, by the way, 2013 National Journal. And then there's in 2014, I don't know if he's responded to it, but I do see Mark Halperin, who was the editor at large at Time. Maybe I'll hit him up and ask him what his response is to that. Brian Gallagher, USA Today, took a trip in 2014. Jesus. Guys, this is so bad. Who they meet with? Tiana Kai, the Chinese vice foreign minister. Cheng Yu, he's the executive producer at the CCP-controlled CCTV. Fu Chengyu, chairman of the state-controlled energy giant Sinopec. That's a big name. You should probably know about that. Feng Shanghai, a senior Shanghai government financial officer or official. Wang Huai Yao, also identified as Henry Wang, who held positions in the United Front Organization, kid you not. Representatives of Baidu, Caixin, Tsinghua University, and other Chinese institutions. Oh my God, this is just disgusting. Yeah, I didn't even have a chance to go through all that. Oh my God. Oh, and I have this up and I'm just talking while I'm trying to read off the Substack. My bad. But oh my God. Woo! Xinhua. My bad. You don't use it, you lose it. Anyway. Not quite. I could have more. All right, so it's 1694. It's not bad. Okay, let me get rid of these things. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. With that in mind, I was going to play these things on the outro, but it's 9:30 and I got to get back to my crosstab. Don't forget to go rewatch the Matt Gaetz interview since I blew past the Matt Gaetz show. I'll go up in One America and check it, but they usually always send Laura the clip anyway, which I then put up on Locals. You can follow me at peoplespunnet.locals.com, peoplespunnet.locals.com. By the way, I've been blasting out shorts on TikTok, which is peoples.pundit. Of course, I actually got my own username. And on Instagram, peoples_pundit. The links to all of this are in the description. It'll say new TikTok, new Instagram. Go sign up. Let's get that follower account up there. It is very, very, very important to it's very important to me. I'll just say that so everybody else doesn't know why I'm making this. Why I'm making this push. It is very important for us to build this Instagram and TikTok following. Okay. Instagram, we're almost to, we'll probably hit 1,000 pretty soon. It steamrolls. You got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I don't do what other people do. So it's important. It's not that important that I got to make an ass out of myself. Other than that, stay tuned for the poll. I'll drop it in the morning and then it'll be out and I'll be able to talk about it a little bit before I go. And then there'll be road rages on the way to Chattanooga. I got to go pick up the rental in the morning on Friday. Then we're out. So we'll do a road rage once I'm on 17 and it's a road ahead. And then, I like to fly typically, but Laura likes to drive and there's a whole lot of shit that comes along with women who have to get dressed, which I know you guys understand. So it's just easier. It's not that much different of a ride than it was to Bedminster. So whatever. If it was just me in a tux or something, I would just fly, but it's not. And you know, the TSA has a really, really bad habit of wrinkling the shit out of your finely pressed suits. So I'd rather just hang them. And we'll take a nice little trip. We'll get there at a reasonable time. I'll get a nice sleep, and then we'll have a great time on Saturday and Sunday. Other than that, I'm going to give you guys the night. And, you know, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's frustrating. I wish, you know, it wasn't. I wish there was better news. I wish the peace deal held. Something tells me we would be looking at like a D+5 generic ballot right now, maybe D+6. Unfortunately, we're not. Unfortunately, it's ugly. The rug pull on the peace deal is a problem. Maybe we can limit the damage still. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think it actually is pretty clear. I think I gave some good advice. I've been giving the right advice. They're just not taking it, you know, and that's on them. You know, there's nothing else you can really do about it. It is what it is. But there is some really cool insight into the poll, and we'll get a chance to talk about it through. I'll also, when I come back, be doing a show with Frank. He wants to talk about the disclosure poll a lot. So I know a lot of you guys watch, quite frankly, your fans, quite frankly, watched the show the other night. It was hilarious. Frank's got a great show. But I'm going to go on, quite frankly, soon. We'll talk about that poll because unfortunately it did not get enough attention and all this bullshit. It's like, you know, people are like, real rich, you know, the alien thing's like a distraction, or the UAP thing's a distraction from everything that's going on. And my response to that, even to Steve, is like, actually, Steve, I think Iran is a distraction to the more important issue of UAPs. Like, something's fucking flying around in our airspace, uninhibited, like, you know, unfettered, like unopposed. And there's nothing we can do about it. Who gives a shit about Iran? And by the way, we have sitting Republican congressmen and women who have told me to my face that there is an extra intelligent life form living in our oceans. And you think it's a good idea, observing us. And you think, if that's true, Congressman, if that's true, Congresswoman, if that's true, Senator, then do you think it's a good idea to be starting a stupid war over a fake nuclear program that was never going to get the bomb until now? Think about it. Why? So they can observe us being animals? Barbaric animals who send Tomahawk missiles into schools with 200 children? The Christ is supposed to be the mitigating factor, the civilizing factor in the human race. And we allied ourselves with people who beat statues of it for fun? Think that's a good idea? Tell me again how we all share Judeo-Christian values. I'm off that train. I'm with America on this. I'm with the rest of America on this. Sorry, heretics. You can't count on the... So I hate to let down the heretics and the ethno-religious supremacists, but I ain't on board with this shit. None but love for you guys. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. Thank you, of course, to everybody who gave tips and super chats and rumble rants and the likes. We really always, as always, appreciate your support. Go follow TikTok. Go follow Instagram. All right? Give one more minute to me of your time and go follow those accounts. All right, I'm out. I'm going to let you guys have the rest of your night. You're watching Inside the Numbers with the People Respondent.